Okay, I think we're live. We're going to watch Mark Carney here, year-end interview. Oh, hold on. Okay, I think we're back. We are going to watch Mark Carney here, year-end interview. I don't have chat up, but one sec, sorry. Okay, this time I think we're good to go. We're going to watch Mark Carney here. I don't have the chat again. There it is. Okay. Trying to figure out this, to see this chat. Anyway, okay, we'll start. I'm going to start it one more time. Okay, Mark Carney, year-end interview. We're going to watch this and then react. Here we go.
2025 was a year of political upheaval for Canada. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau resigning triggered a snap election, and a leader brand new to the political game stepped in.
And the Liberals played that. And the Liberals played that so perfectly. I don't support the Liberal Party, but they totally outmaneuvered the Conservatives there. Like, I would argue probably a little bit unethical, but they won. The Liberal Party does one thing very well in Canada recently, is they win elections. You cannot really debate that. I mean, I'm not thrilled about it, but...
Prime Minister Mark Carney was immediately thrust onto the front lines of an epic battle with Washington. He declared the U.S. is no longer a reliable partner, and right now there is no end in sight to that trade war.
The focus Canada has on America and Trump right now is so ridiculous. This is a pretty nice shot, actually, from Ottawa. I never really realized. I was actually at this building one time, but there was construction happening. It looks like there still is. I didn't even realize it was right on the water. Like, I knew there was a little bit of water, but I thought... Anyway, I don't know what I was thinking when I was there. I thought this river was like a creek. I must have been... I wasn't drunk. I wasn't, like, on drugs. I don't do drugs or anything. Like, anyway, this is just quite interesting. We'll continue on, though.
Across the river from our country's center of political power sits the Canadian Museum of History, temporarily housing Inuit cultural items reclaimed from the Vatican, and a grand hall devoted to Indigenous cultures of the Pacific Northwest, including BC artist Bill Reed's sculpture, The Spirit of Haida Gwaii. Of it, he said, "The boat goes on forever, anchored in the same place."
Canada has been so, like, it's in some sense, this is good. I think there should be more museums like this with Indigenous art and things like that. But there's been such a hyperfixation on the Indigenous reserves, and just the fact that people in the First Nations community can stall progress on a pipeline is insane. This is not really probably the video for that, but I liked Poilievre's answer recently. It was actually in an interview with the same person here from Global, where he's like, nobody gets a veto. But so I think things like this, Indigenous art and Indigenous culture, should be more intertwined into Canadian culture. But the thing that should not happen is all this, like, anyway, I don't even want to talk about it right now because it's probably not the time, but I just think there's an incredible fixation right now on Indigenous people, and it's like, I don't know what we're doing. There's this whole idea of like two Canadas, Canada, and then all these Indigenous reserves that are their own nations and stuff. Just seems like a terrible way to run a country, in my opinion.
The sculptor was
and people say, "Oh, but the culture, like Quebec does that too." There should be Canadian culture. The First Nations people shouldn't be like, "Oh, this is our own thing," and then Quebec, "Oh, this is our own thing." Then what are we doing? Then everybody should do that. Then white people should do that. Then, like, people from Saskatchewan should do that. People from Manitoba should be like, oh, it's our own Manitoba thing, and then we need special treatment. If everyone did that, what's the point of a country?
Known as an advocate for Indigenous sovereignty and land rights. A fitting location for our year-end interview with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, thank you so much for taking time with us.
Thanks for having me, Donna.
This time last year, you weren't in politics. Fast forward to today, and you're at the very heart of it. What have you learned in the last 8 months, and what has surprised you the most about being Prime Minister?
What have I learned? Well, I'll tell you what has surprised me the most, even though having been around politics for a number of decades, in other words, you know, when I was a civil servant, when I worked at the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, etc., I dealt with prime ministers in various ways. So I had a sense that the job is 24/7, 365 days a year. It's one thing to have that sense, it's another thing to live it. So in that respect, it is a surprise. There's just a host of issues that I'm sure we'll talk about, a subset of them today, that are on my mind that I need to make sure that the government is dealing with, anticipating moving forward. So that's probably the biggest surprise. And then, of course, the other aspect of being...
The one thing of following Canadian politics is Mark Carney is not nearly as much of a joke as Trudeau. He answered, like, just the way he spoke there, it's a boring answer, but he's way more well-spoken than Trudeau. So I definitely think for Poilievre, for the Conservatives in general, he's a way more formidable opponent than the way it was looking like, even though Trudeau somehow won 3 elections in a row, which is truly one of the more remarkable things probably in Canadian history, that guy... Like Trudeau would have answered that question with, and anyway, Mark Carney is way better at answering questions than Trudeau. I'm not saying I like Carney's policies, but
being a politician is how you express those issues, how you speak with people and engage. And look, I'm not perfect at it. I think you figured that out, and I'm sure I'll demonstrate that in the coming minutes.
But you called yourself a politician, though. You didn't used to do that.
I am now a politician. I have to admit, I am Prime Minister, so
yeah.
I am a politician, but I'm still a pragmatist.
It would be easier for you, though, if you had a majority. And you're inching towards that.
Well,
you are.
Interesting question. I did a couple of videos on that Michael Maw floor crossing. People were not happy about that at all in that riding. Interestingly, the guy before, named Chris, it didn't seem like there was a whole bunch of blowback when he switched. I'm sure there was. I just didn't see it. It seemed like online, the Michael Maw floor crossing got more negative attention.
You're one away now because you have managed to lure a couple of Conservative MPs to the Liberal caucus. Are you courting other Conservative MPs to push you over the edge?
Well, it's interesting.
The fact that you can do this in Canada is so insane. You can just switch sides. That's so crazy. It's like a trade but there's no give and return. You can just leave. Imagine it's like the NHL. Austin Matthews just goes to the Canadians.
I wouldn't have chosen that verb, lure.
Courting? Luring?
Lure or courting.
Okay.
What I would choose is they are attracted by what we are doing. And that's a key element. You're looking in Parliament.
It's so corny, but it's actually a pretty good answer if you're a politician.
To have the confidence of the House in the vernacular, in the term. So you need support of obviously your own caucus, but others to either support or not stand against what you're doing if you're in a minority.
So
Sometimes
did they come to you and say?
Yes, absolutely.
And did you meet with them, with Chris D'Entremont and Michael Maw?
I met with them just at the end of what was a process, but in those cases, they came to us. They were interested in, they were attracted by what the government is doing. This is a positive vote for the government, supporting the government at a crucial time for our country. And I'd underscore that there's a sense of responsibility that comes.
That rule just needs to be changed in Canadian politics. That's so absurd that you can do that you can floor cross. And I know that's been to the benefit of Conservatives in the past, but either way, it's not good. It's totally undemocratic, obviously. It's just the whims of one person. And I made this point in another video. It's even worse, I think, in Canada because you only get one vote in these federal elections. It's not like down ballot. So as an example, in the States, as I understand it, you vote for the president, you vote for Trump or Kamala, then you vote for all these other down ballot people. In Canada, you get one vote. So you're voting, say you vote Michael Ma, that's the only way to express your vote for Pierre Poilievre to be the leader. So it's even more absurd, I think, in Canada, because now you tried to vote Poilievre and your guy just ditches to the other side.
Obviously with these roles, and we are in a better position as a country, my judgment, 9 months in to this government. Economy's better, we've got a plan, we're implementing that plan, we're making progress internationally, we're becoming...
The economy, is it better? The Canadian stock market is actually up a little bit since Carney has taken over. It was pretty flat for Trudeau's entire tenure, but I don't really think, from what I've seen, the economy, the numbers look pretty flat to me on economic growth. As a general rule, there has not been some big economic boom under Carney yet.
More independent as a country, but we are still in a crisis because our neighbor, our biggest trading partner, has fundamentally changed his policies. So there is a sense of responsibility. The government's moving. It's attractive to members of the House, and they're coming to us.
If I was a liberal, I would say that whole Trump thing for as long as I can, just milk that as long as you can. But from a practical standpoint, I think it's bull crap to keep blaming America on Canada's problems. Canada had massive problems before Trump got in the second time. They've had him for a while, but I think things have gotten particularly worse in the last 15 years.
President Trump faces midterm elections next fall. Is one strategy...
I actually can't believe they're even going to ask about that. I mean, I guess I can believe, but I don't care to hear about this.
Simply to wait him out?
We got ads. I'm not in the right... dang it. What am I going to do here? Just one sec. I'm going to do something with this. Just one sec here. I'm going to take the screen away. Yeah, there we go. We'll get away from the ads, and then we'll get back to the interview. Good streaming here. I'm a massive pro at this, if you cannot tell. Okay, now we're going to get back here. We'll turn this back on. Hello, everybody. Guess I was on screen the entire time, but okay, resuming.
Is one strategy simply to wait him out, to let events potentially take over?
Well, certainly a strategy is not to rush into a bad deal, and that's what we've been very disciplined about. And every week that goes by, the more that we're developing our economic strategy at home, the more we're developing those relationships abroad, the stronger we get. So you gave the example, you prompted me on the defense spending, that $80 billion. That's an enormous amount of money. That's necessary to protect our Arctic. It's necessary to make sure the women and men of the Canadian Armed Forces have the right equipment. But a lot of that, instead of 70 cents on every dollar going south of the border to the United States, defense contractors, a lot of that is now going to be spent here, and it's going to help develop other industries. So all of that puts us in a better position. So yes, is it a better position to be disciplined, have the tough negotiations, which we're having, have those discussions?
I think what he said there was we're going to spend money here now to develop equipment, like military equipment and stuff like that. I think that's what he meant, but is that an advantage to Canada? America has the best military equipment in the world. It's just, I would argue, way more advantageous to just buy it from them. They're obviously the military superpower of the world.
And then if a good deal is there, yes, we will sign it. But if it's not there, we're not going to sign a bad deal.
Just to be clear, there aren't negotiations underway now.
This is all kind of a non-answer. This almost a pointless question. I guess you can ask it, but he just said nothing there.
Formally,
there
right?
are not formal ones yet,
okay.
but there's negotiations about negotiations. How's that? That's the way it works.
Oh, you're a politician.
No, but that's the way it works. That's the way it works in trade. So where the scoping, the scoping of what's going to be in CUSMA, how it's going to be arranged, and that's going to come.
It feels like the ground is shifting globally. I mean, you have described it as a hinge moment, a rupture of multilateral rules-based order. Where does Canada fit into that as a middle power? What kind of influence can we really wield?
We should have none. Just focus on Canada. I feel so passionately about this. Canada trying to be a global player is absurd. Canada, it'd be one thing if it was 15 years ago and the oil economy was booming, things were going well in Canada, wages were going up, there was not crazy levels of immigration. But at this point in Canadian history, we should be totally focusing inward. We should be like the most nationalist possible to get our country back on track. Prioritizing like some of the things we spend money on in Canada, and just overall the priorities of the country should be Canada only, Canada first, totally Canada right now. That doesn't mean you need to be like that forever, but man.
I think it's very important that we recognize exactly what you just said, how much things have changed, and it's a very fluid situation internationally. That's one of the reasons why we're being so aggressive in talking to different partners, developing different defense, security, and economic partnerships. What I would say to Canadians, the good news is virtually everybody wants to do more with Canada. So that's true in Asia, whether it's the Philippines, Thailand.
That might be true. I guess I could see that.
Thailand, Singapore, the ASEAN countries, which are almost a quarter of the world's GDP. It's Indonesia, it's the European Union, it's the UK, it's the countries of the Gulf. United Arab Emirates is going to invest $70 billion in Canada. They've made a commitment to that. They made the commitment. We didn't ask, that comes. So people want to do more with Canada because we have what the world wants.
I think, though, if you look at business investment in Canada, it's been going down for a long time. I have not looked at the numbers recently, but during the Trudeau era, there was a ton of business capital that flowed out of Canada relative to the levels before. So I hope what Carney's saying is true. Like, I have not looked at the numbers yet about how much investment there is in Canada. I kind of doubt there would be too much. Like, America seems for sure like a better place to invest, but I hope that what he's saying is true.
We have the values to which most of the world aspires. We're a reliable partner, and we're an increasingly confident nation that has ambition. So people want to deal with us. Now,
So I think when he says that, that's kind of like a veiled like contrast to America. I think that's what he means. I mean, I've got to read between the lines a little bit because he definitely speaks like a politician. But when he says we have the values that the world wants, like, what does that mean? You like climate change?
Because we have what the world wants. We have the values to which most of the world aspires. We're a reliable partner, and we're an increasingly confident nation that has ambition. So people want to deal with us. Now, that is...
Are we, though? Not in the last 10 years.
Good for our economy. It's good for jobs. It's good for the future. It's good for our independence from the United States. But it also brings an opportunity to help shape a world that is more dangerous, more divided. And we see an example. I'll give you one example of that. We are a member of something called the...
It's crazy, though, how he says that we want to reduce independence or dependence on America, but then there's all this internal strife about whether or not we can even build a pipeline, not even whether it's feasible or not, just whether we can do it, or to consult with all these people. So those two things are so inherently contradictory. We want to not have dependence on America. Okay, well, they're the only country that we share a border with. So what are we going to do? Let's get some of our oil, an oil-rich country, to the coasts so we can ship it to all the countries that I just mentioned, Indonesia, Thailand. countries like that. Oh, but we got to deal with this humongous problem of the building the pipeline. There's all these stakeholder groups that don't want to see it happen. Those things are insane. Then just sell to the Americans then.
Coalition of the willing to support Ukraine. So the United States is not a member of the coalition of the willing supporting Ukraine. We are major European countries. Australia is in, United Kingdom as well. So we're helping to create the possibility of a lasting peace there through security guarantees and other support. And that type of coalitions, different countries coming together on different issues, I think we're going to see more of that. Canada, with the right values and with influence because of we have what the world wants, I think we can play an important role there.
Do you look like a hypocrite?
Okay, so, I guess the next question is coming right now.
Do you look like a hypocrite for backing an expansion of the oil sands after spending so much of your career warning about the dangers of climate change?
Okay, so I guess there is a pause, but oh my gosh, man. Canada and climate change have such a weird relationship. It's so backwards. We're so obsessed with climate change here. This indigenous art is cool. Like I do think it looks quite nice.
I do want to get to the question of the Memorandum of Understanding with Alberta for the pipeline. Do you look like a hypocrite for backing an expansion of the oil sands after spending so much of your career warning about the dangers of climate change?
Well, not at all, because what I've said consistently is that the world is going to use hydrocarbons for coming decades under any scenario, net zero, 1.5 degree scenario, IEA's scenario. It's in the variance of 25, 30 million barrels per day of oil down from 100, but still being used, first point. Second point is what kind of oil or hydrocarbons are going to be used? Low cost, low risk, low carbon. Third point, low carbon, crucial. If we are going to continue to supply hydrocarbons.
The fact that we even have to have a debate about the pipeline in Canada shows how backwards everybody has gotten. Just with the general state of the economy, a guy just passed away waiting 8 hours in the ER in Edmonton to get medical care. We need the revenues from these projects. And then we also have the elbows up crowd whining about America all the time. We need to be less dependent on America. But then we have to have this pipeline debate. I bet is going to last 5 years. Like it should be all just build the pipeline. Let's get moving. Well, let's debate about the next thing.
Carbons. It needs to be low carbon. That is why at the center of the Memorandum of Understanding is Pathways, which takes 16 megatons of carbon out, the equivalent of 90% of the cars and trucks in Alberta off the road, and that these are low carbon barrels. In other words, the production and the transportation of that oil.
It's clean oil, I think is the term that Alberta uses.
Decarbonized oil.
Yeah.
Now, so that's, and then what else we've done, because the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, it is the pipeline. It's a potential pipeline. It's Pathways. It is a 6.5 times increase in the effective carbon price. It is 75% reduction in methane. It is interties with the clean grid of British Columbia. It's nuclear investment.
This stuff is so boring. Like whatever. The part that's boring is we even have to debate this. It's such a waste of time.
In nuclear power as well. So it's a comprehensive approach to medium-term energy, which is a lower carbon energy.
But climate change is not the urgent political issue that it once was. It's not on the top of everyone's agenda now.
That's for sure.
In this moment,
thankfully, that is true, I would say.
That we are in, countries are pulling back from their net zero commitments. Many countries haven't made their emissions targets, including Canada. So where are we at on that?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, globally, we're off track. Exactly what.
No, we're not. Just throw that shit in the garbage. People are not going to. I mean, I'm not an expert on this, obviously, but it's not the strategy of climate change that all these countries have is pathetic. if you want to work, anyway, there's too many thoughts, but it shouldn't be the government's job to do all this, in my opinion. It should be private companies, companies like Tesla, things like that, like just innovation in science to find new clean energies. I don't know why the governments all feel this incredible drive to do this, and also object to just people that want to make that their lives work, like that Stephen Guilbeault. You want to make like climate change and environmentalism your life's work. Do it in the private sector. Do it the real way, the hard way. Don't just get into government and tell everyone they need to be taxed more or they need to follow all these net zero guidelines. If you really care about it, solve it in the private sector, like Elon Musk. And obviously not everyone's going to be smart like that. Like not everyone's going to be a total genius and willing to take the risk and all that stuff. Then just work for one of those companies. Work for a company like Tesla or some other company that works in the green industry.
What you said, the ability to keep temperatures below 1.5 degrees is slipped away. The ability to keep them below 2 degrees, which was the Paris objective, is what the focus is. That's the first point. The second, in terms of Canada, we are also, what the policies that I inherited are not sufficient to meet our targets, okay? Not sufficient to meet our targets, 2035 targets. And in part, because regulation in and of itself isn't sufficient. You need the investment alongside it. And so part of the shift of the government is to really focus on those investments at scale. So that is clean grid, and you'll...
This answer, I'm going to skip. I'm just going to go ahead about a minute, see if they're still talking about this.
You just have to look at where China and others are going. We have an opportunity. We have an enormous opportunity in this country to leapfrog the United States. The United States has taken its eye off the ball on this. I mean, they've really downgraded it. We have an opportunity to leapfrog the United States. On top of that overall responsibility, we can create jobs, we can make life more affordable, we can build our economy, and we are going to take those opportunities as they come.
Millions of Canadians who are struggling to pay the rent, who have difficulty buying groceries because the cost of everything has risen so much. What is your message to them?
That's a way better question. So I believe he was talking about there. I'm just going to go back to make sure I didn't miss that. But
imperative of the moral obligation, responsibility for future generations of addressing the issue. Industry will only become
okay. I just want to address
automobiles, aerospace, services, whatever, to leapfrog the United States. Opportunity. We have enormous.
So I think he's talking about here like having an opportunity to leapfrog the United States in what, climate competitiveness. Like that is an absurd answer, I think. Again, I skipped ahead. I'm kind of, maybe I shouldn't have, but I feel like that stuff's kind of boring. But who's going to care about that? Who's going to invest in this climate competitive crap?
Some of them are opposed to another pipeline, do not want that happening to their coast, believe that with the history of the Pacific Northwest people. We are here in this gorgeous hall, the Museum of History, with the history of the Pacific Northwest people here. It's their history, but the people who live there now are looking to their future, and some of them, are opposed to another pipeline, do not want that happening to their coast, believe that...
Who cares? Deal with it.
The rewards go to Alberta, and they take all the risk. What's your message to them?
Well, the first thing, we were talking beforehand.
What's the risk?
You know, my family, my parents from BC, and extended family all up and down the coast interior on Vancouver Island as well. So have some familiarity, let's put it that way. The first thing is that what the MOU does with Alberta is it creates some of what are the necessary conditions in order for, amongst other things, a pipeline to be proposed, but not the sufficient conditions.
Meaning that it won't necessarily get built.
Right. Well, meaning the following, which is that for a pipeline to be built, the industrial...
Again, my same point on this is the fact that we have to have all these debates is pathetic. This is only a thing that you can really care about when you have all the things in your life already sorted out. It's a very selfish position, actually, to think that Canada has 5 years to debate this pipeline. Tell that to the people living below the poverty line that could use the work, or that go to the ER and have totally absurd wait times. Like, again, that person, that man in Edmonton just passed away. Like, you need the country to run the economy hot to pay for things. So we have to this long debate. You can do this when you're some person that's already had a career and now you care about politics, like say you're someone in the news, or just people that vote liberal, like some of the older people. You can debate this stuff when your basic needs in life are taken care of. But for the majority of Canadians, really, the majority of young Canadians, the economy is awful. We need the productivity.
Carbon price has to be on this path to increase in Alberta. Secondly, this
is going to be another answer about all this carbon crap. Like, I'm just going to skip. I do not want to hear this entire interview about carbon.
There is that ownership. We need the support, if there is a proposal, of First Nations and British Columbia. So it creates the possibility. I'm a firm believer.
I don't think you should need the approval. I think you should just build it. I'm the Prime Minister. We're building it. People can switch the floor. And liberals can just become conservatives. How about we just build a pipeline? You don't like it? Move. We're building a pipeline right here. It's not going to be near anyone's house. If you don't like that, you can move then.
Believer and practitioner of
It's just crazy how Canada is so hardcore in certain ways. Like that guy, again, that Edmonton story. You can go to the hospital and wait 8 hours with crazy chest pain, high blood pressure, but we're going to pander to just like 3 people out in the middle of nowhere on some Indigenous reserve that think a pipeline is like bad vibes.
Cooperative federalism, in all respects. So it's not just what we build, it's how we build it, building it inclusively, building it sustainably, and building it in solidarity. And
if after all those conditions are met and there's a proponent and there's consultation...
They're not all going to be met. This is, like, you can just tell the way this is all being set up in Canada, this is not going to work. It's going to get stopped. I have no confidence in this.
And after consultation, the answer is no.
And after consultation, that basically sounds like after consulting fees. After you pay a bunch of people to have this great life being a consultant, sitting behind a desk, asking ChatGPT stuff.
And there's consultation. And after consultation, the answer is no. Is there a plan B?
Look.
Could there be a Keystone XL? Could that idea be revived?
There are other options.
Is that one of them?
On paper, it's an option. Yes, on paper, it's an option.
Are you actively considering
it? It provides, if I may, there was a lesser strategic advantage in sending. If part of our objective as a country, which Canadians across this country tell me is, and I believe is right, is to become more independent, to diversify from the United States. Having another pipeline to the United States is less advantageous, just to be clear.
That's what I was saying before. Like this entire debate, anyway, I already made my point. It's so hypocritical to be elbows up and then block a pipeline to the coast.
Our advantages.
It gets Alberta oil to Tidewater.
There are advantages, but it's much less advantageous than having a new market and having the diversification there. But let me make a general point. What we're interested in these nation-building projects, we have 110 billion plus of them already identified, everything from high-speed rail to major projects in the interior of British Columbia, major hydro projects, other aspects. What we're interested in is, what are people for? What are people for? We have more opportunities in this country than we can realistically do at one time. So we're working with Indigenous peoples, with provinces, with the private sector. What are we for? What can we build? Let's build now. Become more independent, create better jobs for Canadians, better futures for our children. That's the opportunity. It's the one we need to grab.
Okay, my final.
Then just do it, man. Oh my gosh. Do you think that this is going to happen? I think none of those pipelines are going to get built.
Topic is about affordability. The single biggest issue when I said I'm coming to interview you, and I asked people, what matters to you most, and they said the cost of living.
Absolutely.
Of course. Yet the whole interview so far has been about the pipeline, which I guess is fine, and then about America. And yeah, it's obviously all affordability, but the Liberal Party has done a great job. They did a great job in the election about kind of pivoting away from that to Trump and elbows up.
Down.
Yep.
There are so many people, as you know, millions of Canadians who are struggling to pay the rent, who have difficulty buying groceries because the cost of everything has risen so much. What is your message to them? Do you just need to be patient? Is that
Oh my God. Out of touch Olympics. Then everything she said there is true, though, beside the patient part. Yet Canada's going to debate a pipeline for the next 5 years, I bet. It's so unserious.
Messages?
Well, it's certainly not. First is absolutely understand the scale of this issue. And we have acted on it, and we will continue to act on it. And let me be more specific, which is that we had this huge surge in inflation after the pandemic. And then the overall level of inflation is now back to
roughly where you want it to be.
Roughly that 2%, roughly where the bank should be. But the level of prices, that's different. The level of prices is still high. And on top of that, the food, the expenses of people who are less well off in the country are particularly high.
Yeah.
So the price of beef is high because of drought in the U.S. and challenges. The price of coffee has gone up, dramatically. So the price of groceries has gone up considerably. So there is this affordability issue. So what are we doing? First off, we cut taxes for everyone who pays taxes. 22 million Canadians. It was the first thing we did as a government. And this is material particularly for those less well off. Second thing we're doing is we have preserved all of the programs in a tough budget where we had to take tough decisions, a budget where we're saving $60 billion, a budget where we're cutting 10% of the public service, 20% of consultants in the last budget. We preserved, rightly, because these are fundamental. Childcare.
That's actually good if that happened, to cut some of that stuff. I'm sure there's still tons of crap, but
$10 a day childcare. National School Food Program, which helps 400,000 of our least well-off children. We've made that permanent. Pharmacare, dental care, healthcare, the healthcare transfers to the provinces, all the things that help on the margin. It's not yet enough. What we have to do as well is we have to look for other opportunities, increase competition, get prices down. And fundamentally, what we have to do is grow the economy. Yes, we have to grow the economy.
And that's the part that's going to take time. And I think that's the thing when people say to me, well, how long is it going to take? Ask them how long it's going to take.
Well, look, we are doing a series of things, and we'll continue.
Again, I'll make the point again, but you can't, in one hand, want to have this crazy, robust debate and care about all these fucking stakeholder groups on one hand about the pipeline, and then say, but how are we going to grow the economy? It's just la la land.
Continue to look for others that help bridge over that period of time. But at the core is we have to grow this economy. And we have to grow this economy in a way that makes it more independent, more sustainable, that works with provinces and works with Indigenous people. We have to do all of those things. That's why we're in such a hurry. That's why we're doing the major projects. That's why we're launching Build Canada Homes, which will be cheaper homes as they're built for Canadians. That's why we're striking all these trade deals internationally. That's why this job, it's one of the reasons why this job where we started is relentless. It should be relentless. And look, we're making progress. We got to keep on this track. We're in a stronger position than we were 9 months ago at the start of the year, but we got to keep going, and we will keep going.
Prime Minister, thank you for taking time with us. And
I don't know, man. I'll finish the thought there, but we'll just finish this here.
Happy holidays to you and your family.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
It's called Merry Christmas, okay? But yeah, obviously I'll finish the video there. I don't know. I think my main issue I kind of made clear that the pipeline stuff is insane. Carney also just is better at these interviews than Trudeau by like a mile. Some of the stuff in the middle there was kind of boring. But anyway, with that said, I'll finish the stream, I guess. Thank you for watching.